We are KCPS.
We're going to focus on introducing our cabinet to you, and they're spread throughout the room. So we'll give them an opportunity to stand up, and we have a couple of people who are brand new to our team this year. We want to make sure that we give them a few minutes to make some remarks. We want to go over our strategic plan and really share with you all that we're well into year one of our implementation of this plan, but we're getting ready to conclude year one and we're moving into year two of a 5-year strategic plan. We also want to share with you our listening and learning results. Last year we conducted 11 listening and learning community meetings where it was a part of my 100-day entry plan, but we also then took that information, turned it into our post-entry plan, and then from there created components of what you all asked for as a community into our current strategic plan. And then we will open it up for questions and comments, and then we will have a special presentation by our language services department. So let's get right into it. I want to introduce our cabinet to you, and there's a couple of individuals that I would like to have come up to the podium who are really brand new. One being Dr. Marla Shepard, who is our Deputy Superintendent, and also Linda Quinley, our Chief Financial Operations Officer. I would most certainly ask that the two of you could come up. We'd love to be able to offer introductions, and then I'll also introduce the remaining members.
Good evening. I am here with from Houston, Texas. I come with secondary background. I've been a middle school principal, I've been a high school principal, and I've also been an assistant superintendent where I had to lead schools anywhere from elementary K on up through 12th grade. I'm very honored to be here in the Kansas City Public Schools. It has been a very welcoming place, and we have plenty of good work that we'd like to bring to the community and make sure that we share with you, because we have some things that we know that you'll be excited about. So we hope to come back again soon so that we can share those things with you. Thank you so much. And now I'll turn it over to Ms. Quinley.
Good evening. My name is Linda Quinley. I, like Dr. Shepard, am new to the district in July. I came from Columbia, Missouri, where I worked as the Chief Financial and Operations Officer for 12 years there in that district. And likewise, I'm really excited to be a part of this team, part of this new energy, and a part of what's going to go on here in Kansas City.
Thank you, Ms. Quinley. And then I also want to bring up Michael Reynolds. Michael Reynolds has been a part of this city for I don't know how many years, but a part of this district for I don't know how many years. But we just named him as our Chief Research and Accountability Officer, so I'll definitely want to give him an opportunity to introduce himself to you.
Good evening. Mike Reynolds. I've worked in Kansas City Public Schools for going on 15 years now, all the time in assessment and accountability, data, and all that fun stuff. I'm a resident of Kansas City Public Schools. My daughter graduated from Kansas City Public Schools. And I just want to let you all know that I'm immensely proud and extremely ambitiously energetic about the work that we're getting ready to do in Kansas City and have been doing. And I just want to reiterate that we really expect some good things, right around the corner.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. And then I want to also introduce Natalie Allen. Natalie Allen is our Chief Communications Officer and Chief of Staff. She's in her second year here on assignment. Jennifer Collier, she's in the back. She's our Chief Human Resource Officer, but was also the former principal of Border Star Elementary. And and you were at Northeast High School too. That's right. I forgot, as an assistant principal, right? That's awesome. Ivan Nugent, he's our Chief Legal Officer. He's new to the position, but been in the district for about 7 years or so we're excited to have him on board. Dr. Luis Cordova, back here in the corner, he's been with us for a while, and he's our Chief over Student Support and Intervention Department, and he's in his uniform because he believes in walking in the trenches with the people that he leads, which is a great characteristic and trait to have. So we're definitely thankful that you're a part of our team. And so one of the things I like to share with people with this team is that it's a very diverse team. What we wanted to do was to really create an executive team that reflected our school district. And we believe that we have one of the most diverse teams in the state. 4 women, 4 men. We have different races that are represented, and it represents what our school district look like in essence. And most importantly, these are some highly intelligent people. You know, this job is hard, everybody. And the only way that superintendents are going to be successful in doing the very tough work is to surround himself or herself with a high group of people who are just much smarter than the superintendent. And that's what I'm proud to say that I have. So I'm extremely thankful for you all. So I want to start off with this piece here. And I want you all to just process what I'm saying here with this quote. Listen to this. Leading to a better place. Can you imagine the emptiness of knowing that you stood for nothing, that you risked nothing, that all you did was follow fearful people to where they were already going rather than trying to lead them to a better place? So I want you to think about that as we go through this presentation, because that's the mentality that I want to instill here in this city, is that we're not going to continue to go down the same path that has nothing but a dead end. And what I mean by a dead end is only 30% of kids meet with proficiency in reading and math. Only 22% meet with proficiency in science. Having a graduation rate that's below 70%. So if we continue to do things the way that we've always done things, then we're going to continue to get the same results. And so as we go through this presentation, I want to give you assurances that what we're doing and what we're building for this school district right now is going to accelerate this school district at a much faster pace. So people say the district is much better off than it was 5 years ago. I absolutely agree with that. What I don't agree with is that it's not acceptable that we still have a large percentage of our kids who can't meet with proficiency on state and national assessments. So at the end of the day, we want to move faster than 1 or 2 percentage points of growth. And we believe we have the formula to get that done for this community. So what does it require? The work of improvement requires intent, being very intentional, being considerate, and it also requires that we are coordinated. And those 3 things have to work together if you're going to see the kind of growth that we expect this district to have. So one of the things we talk about is really creating a community plan for positive change. Too often people will come in and they do these strategic plans and then it just collects dust. And what we said was that we're going to make sure that there's an accountability moving forward on our strategic plan. It's tied into my evaluation. We have a scorecard. We're documenting everything that we're doing, and everything that we told our Board of Education and the community that we would do in year 1. We're on target right now to meet those goals. And so we want to make sure that everybody understands that this is just not lip service. And I think too often we've given a lot of lip service in our urban school systems around the country. We don't want to be a part of doing that to the community here in Kansas City. The next component is, as we think about the destination, where do we want to see our kids end up? We want a world-class, equitable, and we're going to talk about equity in a little bit, school system where the expectation is that we will fully prepare every student to be critical thinkers and problem solvers who are equipped to succeed in the 21st century global economy. We're becoming more global as a school district day by day. Our ELL population is growing. It's the largest in the state. You know, our Latino population is growing. And we want to make sure that we're doing everything to be as inclusive as we can possibly be as a school district. So, we also talk about everything being around, with us being student-centered. People tend to jump on me a little bit because they say all that he ever does is talk about students. He doesn't talk a lot about adults. He doesn't focus on us. I do focus on adults. But the bottom line is, if it's not for the kids, we aren't employed. We don't have jobs. And at the end of the day, we should be going all in for kids and not worrying about things that make us comfortable and things that allow for us to kind of skate through as employees in an effort to do a disservice to kids because we don't want to do the hard work. And so I'm going to be relentless in that, and I'm not going to apologize that I talk about kids all the time because that's why I was hired, to advocate for kids. So what does that look like? Student learning, everybody, is the fundamental purpose of a school system. the number one purpose of a school system is to make sure that we're educating kids. And if we aren't doing that, then we need to question, why are we collecting a paycheck if our kids aren't progressing? And I think that's important. Instructional effectiveness. This is the intersection of student, teacher, and content, supported by effective leadership and organizational practices. So if you don't have the instructional piece in order, teaching and learning is not in order, then the main thing that we do in educating kids cannot happen. Empowering infrastructure. So to support mission-focused decision-making, strategy formulation, and focused action at every level. Every level. From the superintendent to custodians to bus drivers to cafeteria workers, everybody needs to be very focused and very intentional in their work. And everybody needs to be an expert and love their craft in order for this school district to be successful. And then ultimately, we always talk about it, KCPS students are our priority. Any student that's in this school district, that is our priority. I want everybody to know, if you don't know, I have 3 kids in this school system. I see the same things that many of you as parents see that happens to your kids. I see the good, I see the bad, I see the ugly. I see the inequities that exist in this system because of decisions that we've made that necessarily weren't to the benefit of kids, but were to the benefit of us. And I see what those implications look like now and how they're playing out. But here's the beautiful thing. I'm in a position where I can do something about it. I can fix it. And I promise you, we will. So here's our 5 strategic goals. So this is our strategic plan, everybody. We have 5 goals. And I want everybody in here to understand that there were things in this strategic plan that I was lobbying against. Isn't that correct, Ms. Wilson? I was going around the tables trying to get some things out, but the community said, no, Dr. Bedell, these are the things that we want to work on. And what I said was, this plan shouldn't be about what the superintendent wants. It shouldn't be about what the Board of Education wants. It should be about what the community wants. Because one thing we know in urban education is that boards change and superintendents change. But a plan shouldn't die because we didn't have community buy-in. So that's what we have here. So the first one is success in the early years. We believe that every student will receive the social, emotional, cognitive, health, and community support necessary to be successful by the end of the 3rd grade. Because yes, they determine how many jail cells they're going to build by the end of 3rd grade based on children's reading proficiency levels. So if you're a district and you're sitting at the 3rd grade and you have only 30% of your kids reading on grade level, they've already determined that 70% is going to be very hard to catch up. And that 70% is then pushed towards the prison, school to prison pipeline. And we just simply say that we cannot do that. But in order for us to do this area, we got to get more kids into early childhood. We have to get kids in at the age of 3 and 4. Because if we don't, then there's a lot of gaps that kids show up with in kindergarten, and they're already behind with the basic fundamental things that they should have learned during their pre-operational years of development. And so we're pushing this early childhood, universal early childhood in the Kansas City boundaries, and we have a bill that has been filed in Jefferson City that is our #1 legislative agenda item. But we also know too that the mayor has begun to take interest in even wanting to look at a sales tax that will allow for potential early childhood to be offered within the boundaries of this area. And what I try to tell people is everybody wins. Charter schools, private schools, public schools, the more kids that are being educated at the age of 3 and 4, if they hit kindergarten and they're on grade level, then all you're doing is moving these kids on a trajectory where they can take rigorous courses and they can be prepared. But if they come in behind, then you have to perform triage. And when you have to perform triage at the kindergarten age, oftentimes when the school system isn't aligned in its practices, that gap tends to widen as they're educated further. And I've seen that data in multiple school districts where they just don't ever catch up. I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want that to be a part of my legacy. The second one is the whole child, safe, challenge, and supporting. Every child will be challenged and supported within a safe learning environment to be a responsible and productive citizen capable of meeting high expectations. We simply believe that every single one of our kids need the social and emotional supports to be successful. We also want all of our kids to feel that they are a part of something bigger than themselves. So how do we increase social organizations? How do we make sure that we offer a robust athletic program that allows for kids to want to be a part of our sports program? So what we said we would do is we put fields up, and we'll talk about that later. We've increased our social organizations. In fact, we have over 200 kids right now that participated in fall sports than they did last year. We've had teams that's made it to the state level championship. We have a lot of great things going on that's connecting kids to their schools, and so we're very excited about that. Number 3, continuous growth towards mastery of all academic subjects. We believe that every child will progress at a pace that closes the achievement gap and will meet or exceed academic standards in academic subjects. So what we said we would do is we provide it to our board, and we give them the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm not interested in interpreting data in a way where it only looks like things are going good, because then people really won't know how to help us. What I told our board was, here's where we are, and here's the plan that we put in place to address those gaps. And we believe that we have to move all 3 levels of our students, those who are low performing, those who are average performers, and those who are high achievers. Every single one of those kids should be moving. And if we aren't doing that, then we're not doing our jobs correctly. This here just kind of shows Kansas City 7th grade reading distribution. And what this is telling us, everybody, is here's a chart that basically has our grade level equivalents. This green, and it's hard to see right here, is the Missouri Learning Standards. What this is telling us is that we have children in the 7th grade, and roughly 27.5% of our kids are at the Missouri Learning Standards level. That means that when they enter into that class, only 27% of the standards that we're teaching, 27% of the kids really have the ability to grasp and understand. So what does that mean? You have kids here that is at the 20%, 22% range, 32% are here that need intervention 2, second level intervention, and then tier 3 kids, and it's hard for me to see, but it's probably around 9.8% or somewhere in that range. But what that means is we have to give our teachers the support, because they can't just sit in class and just teach all of these kids the current standards. They have to backward map and figure out what are some of the gaps that kids are missing, and how do I come back and scaffold and do some reteaching to make sure that those gaps are filled in. The worst thing that we do in urban education is we continue to just plow through to say we got through the curriculum, and this is part of the reason why the kids never catch up. This tells you your story right here. Right, so there are standards that are missing at grade 6, grade 5, grade 4, grade 3. And this is how deep that we're going into the data moving forward around how we provide the professional development, the curriculum alignment, and the supports that our building principals and our teachers need. And this is critical. So we wanted to share that with you so you can see how deep we're going into the data. 21st century critical thinkers and problem solvers. Every student will demonstrate global competitiveness, creative thinking, and innovation through effective reasoning, communication, and advocacy for themselves and their community. So what does this mean, everybody? Eventually, the vision that we have as a school system is that every kid should be graduating out of this school system with a completer. So people are saying, what's a completer? A completer means that the kids have completed some kind of career pathway. So they have the ability to either go right into the workforce, go to military, or if they want to go to college, we've given them and we've equipped them with that. So what we plan on doing is bringing Project Lead the Way into our middle schools to prepare these kids at the elementary level. We plan on bringing coding, and we want to introduce Lego robotics and some of those things that are much earlier level for our kids to get them interested in STEM. Because here's what's happening now is there no longer are people welding, everybody. You know who's doing the welding? Robots, not humans. But you know who's doing the programming to make sure that those robots work? The humans. Those people who've learned how to code and read a program, that's the job now. And they're making $17, $18 to do it. And I can't sit here as a superintendent and tell you that this district has done its job to make sure that kids are prepared for that part aspect of the workforce. But they will be. I promise you, they will be. Readiness for college, career, and life. Every student will graduate from high school with a post-secondary plan and the experiences and preparation to execute that plan successfully after high school. So we're working on that, starting with our middle schoolers this year, to make sure that our middle schoolers understand that you need to have a blueprint for what it is you want to do upon graduation. We know that we have a high percentage of placement, where 93% of our kids are placed in some type of post-secondary program, and we're doing well in that, but it's not good enough until we hit 100%. So we know we still have work in that area, but we want to make sure that our kids truly are prepared for life, the soft skills and those kind of things that they need. Balancing a checkbook, knowing how to go out and apply for a proposal, write a proposal and apply for a grant. The common sense things that kids need to be able to deal with when they graduate from high school. So those are the 5 goals. Here's the 4 pillars. Here's the things that everybody here must do. This is where you all fall in. As parents, community members, employees, advocates, whoever's in here. This is where you fall in. The 4 pillars to a house. Think about your house. You got 4 pillars that your house is held up on. If one of those are off, now you have foundation issues. And when you have foundation issues, that compromises the integrity of your house once it rains and once you get bad weather. And so you generally have to get that adjusted. If the pillars are not all stable, those 5 goals are impossible. The 5 goals for these kids and outcomes are impossible. So let's talk about Pillar A. This is critical. Pillar A focuses on personalized, rigorous, culturally responsive teaching and learning. Do we have a workforce of educators who know how to build relationships with their kids? Do they have the ability to remove or control for the implicit biases that exist within them, to serve the kids the way that the kids show up? Because not everybody's going to show up in your class the way that you expect them to show up. And we all have implicit bias. I know I do. But I know that I know how to control for it because of experiences that happened years ago when I was a principal, when I was an assistant principal. So we need to talk about that, and we need to be culturally responsible in what we're doing. Pillar B, this is about safe climate, strong relationships with family and community. This is simple. Schools can't do it alone. I often tell people every time that I speak, the failure of the Kansas City Public School District is the failure of a community as a whole. Not a superintendent, not a board of education, as a community as a whole. A lot of people turn their backs on this school district, and this school district has never recovered. And then you want to point the finger at the families of the kids that are struggling, saying that they are making the district bad and worse, when many people turn the district because of integration, because they didn't want to educate their kids with those kids. And we're still dealing with that in 2018. I missed the comment at one of the community meetings where somebody referred to the kids who were being bussed over to the Southwest building from Westport as thugs. And so if that's how you see our kids, your implicit bias has already doomed us in terms of us coming together as a community to work. And it was divine intervention that I didn't hear that comment. Pillar C, caring, effective teachers in every classroom and effective leaders in every school. So I told you, I believe in this cabinet that I have. I have a strong executive team. I believe in the fact that these people are experts in what they do. And I trust them. I can bring some of the best people in here from all around the country, but if I don't have principals who can then take what we're teaching them and roll it out in their schools, if I don't have teachers who aren't willing to go to PDs or aren't willing to take what they've learned and move that into the classroom, then everything that we're doing is all for nothing. Right? You can bring talent in here, but a lot of it is around what happens inside of the schoolhouse. And so we believe that we're giving people the tools that they need to be successful. Part of it is I can tell you personally, I know myself, I know Dr. Shepard, I know we worked in some of the worst schools in Houston, and we turned them around. I think we know what we're talking about, and what we're telling our principals is just trust us in the work that we're doing, right, in this academic area, because we've been there, we've done it. It's not attractive. I'm not going to lie to you. I told the principals, some of this PD is not attractive, but it's what we have to do. We have to grind it out, and we have to be ready to then take and equip ourselves with the weapons that we need to be successful for our kids. And so that's what we're doing, and we're getting everybody to understand that. And then the pillar D, everybody, is simple. Data-informed, effective, and efficient systems. How do we look at our data in a way that allows for us to do budget alignment in an appropriate way? How do we make sure that as a result of what we've invested in initiatives, that we can see some growth in how our kids are performing as they take their formative assessments and then their summative assessments at the end of the year? This is an example of how we're looking at data from the NWEA standpoint. This is how our reading quartiles look based on enrollment history. This data tells us a story that we've never presented before to our board or the community. This week, what we said was we were going to track how many kids have been with us for part of the year, how many kids have been with us for 1 year, how many kids have been with us for 2 years. The kids that were with us for 2 years or more were performing at or right at, I don't want to lie, Mike, and say above, but they were performing right at national, right at expectations, national averages. So what that tells us is that mobility plays a huge role in how we can educate our kids. And if we have eviction issues, which I know some of you saw on KCPS-TV, is that the right station? All right. And that directly impacts a lot of the kids that we serve in this school district, contributing to a 41% mobility rate. On top of that, adding social and emotional distress to the kids. It's very difficult for us to see that we're going to ever get good data if we got intentional practices like that happening here in this city. And then tie that into the fact that we have a very saturated market here of choice of schools. 22 elementary schools, 15 or 16 high schools. And most of these schools aren't even full to capacity. And most of these schools aren't necessarily giving these kids what they deserve because resources are spread thin. So you got an educational ecosystem right now that is not working for kids. It's working for adults because adults get paid off of it. But it's not working for kids. So what ends up happening is these kids get through this system, they become future employees, they take low-wage jobs. It's not necessarily a value add to the Kansas City area because they're not being educated properly, whether it's our school system, whether it's charter schools, or even some of these private schools. And so they become a victim of miseducation. And then you have what we had last year, one of the highest murder rates in the history of Kansas City. There's implications with all of this stuff. And a lot of this is historical if we really want to go there, which we don't have time. So moving on, Pillar B is the piece that we talk about often, where you guys really have to help us. This is what I often tell people. We cannot be successful. I cannot be successful as a superintendent if I don't have a community believing in what we're doing. If everybody's just going to sit back and wait and let's see what the how the superintendent's going to solve all of this. I told you all when I signed my contract on April 20th, somewhere in that range, I told you I don't have the magic potion. I'm not going to stand up here and act like I got all the answers because I don't. But what I did say was that if the community came together and got behind and supported us, we can come up with the solutions because it takes a community to do this. So safety nets is a big deal for us. I'm gonna make sure I say this right. Our Plaza Comunitaria, did I get it right, Louise? I got it. Is an example of us partnering with entities within the city to help us be more of a value add to our families. So we actually have our Plaza Comunitaria up at East, and we have a chapter over at James, and we have one here, and we're helping Hickman Mills to get one up and running. Is that correct, Dr. Cordova? Huh? Okay, thank you. So this is an opportunity for us to create more of a safe haven for our families. And this is a great program in partnership with the Mexican Consulate's office. The other thing that we talk about when we talk about safety nets is making sure that everybody understands that this is a safe haven for the families that we serve. We made this very clear. The Kansas City Public Schools declared a safe haven for immigrant students, parents, and staff. Our board voted on a resolution to make sure that everybody understands that we will not be participating in anything dealing with deportation, anything impacting our dreamers, anything that will compromise our kids being able to matriculate through a school system so that they can be properly educated. And we've been very clear about that. We will steadfastly defend all of our children, including the dreamers. So we want everybody to know that when you send your kids to our schools, they're going to be safe, they're going to be protected, and we want to make sure that we send them back the way that you sent them to us, but just a little bit smarter each day. That's what we want. Family engagement and community, we talk about that now, and it's kind of what we're doing here. Welcoming the perspective and embrace diverse voices of parents and caregivers. We think that that's very important. Community partnerships, leveraging community resources for student growth and school district improvement. And then I wanted to share this with you. One of our key actions in our strategic plan is that we wanted to focus on improving our 90-90 attendance rates and our ADA. And I think one of the things I tell people is, I'm still an educator, I'm still a teacher at heart. And I believe we have to continue to educate our community. Because I don't think people really understand what 90-90 versus ADA means. 90-90, everybody, means that 90% of the time your child needs to be in school, 90% of the time your child needs to be in class. And this is how we get our accountability rating from the state. We're eligible to receive up to 10 points from our state accountability system. If a kid misses one day, let's assume you have a child that goes to Northeast Middle. You guys have seven periods. You have 7 periods. If the child misses the first period, they in essence have missed roughly 14%, 13% of their school day. Guess what happens when the parent says, baby, it's okay, you can wake up a little late and just get to school for second period. They are basically accounted as a 0 for the day, for 90-90. The second they fall below 90%, 89% is the same as a 0. And I don't think people understand that. So our district has been struggling with 90-90 because we can't get kids to school on a daily basis and we can't get kids to school on time. We need help. The other thing that we need help with is that when we talk about schools can't do it alone, the adults got to step up and do their part. I can't control the fact that I got bus drivers when the weather is cold and the conditions aren't right for them, that they don't want to get up and go pick up kids. So when I got kids sitting outside in 5-degree weather because a bus driver is feeling like it's too cold, I don't want to drive, those kids sit at that bus stop freezing, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds, and what the parents end up doing is bringing them back home and they miss a day of school because they don't have any transportation. Now what we do is we'll come back and sweep, but by the time we come back and sweep these kids with another bus, they're already in the house. That's a dead day. And those kids only have 180 days with us. It's unacceptable. But this is the kind of stuff that hurts us because you cannot control the fact that only 79% of the kindergartners in this school system have a 90-90 attendance rate. Who controls whether a kindergartner gets up and goes to school on a daily basis? Not the kindergartner. That's the adult. That's parents. So if you tell the kid your stomach's not feeling well or it's raining outside, you don't need to go outside, this is killing us right now. So we can do all of these fun things and the academic things that I shared with you earlier, But if I can't even get them to come to school, we've already lost this battle. So let me educate you on ADA. What ADA is simple. Average daily attendance. So 90/90 is how we get our accountability for accreditation. ADA is how we get funded. So if kids don't come to school, we lose funding for those kids on a daily basis. So at the end of the year, based on the percentage of kids who are here for ADA, we'll determine how we get our funding for the next school year. Is that correct? And so this is totally different than 90/90, but both of them are equally important to us being able to do the work that we need to do. And this is a piece that we're going to really go in on, and even as we go to radio stations and we're promoting what we're trying to do, we're going to talk a lot about educating people on 90/90 and ADA. Because if we don't get these two components right, all of this wonderful stuff that we're doing, the PD, all of that stuff, it doesn't matter if we can't get them to come to school. So listening and learning results. We wanted to share with you, we wanted you to know that we heard, that we learned, and we are responding. Because what I don't want to do is have these kind of meetings just so I can check off a list and say, hey, I met with the community, good. I want to make sure that you understand that we are listening, that we are responding, and that this is a district that you can trust will take your concerns and your suggestions seriously. So some of the things that you all asked us to do last year, you said we need to do a better job with community partners, and a lot of you said we need to do something with mentoring. So we've done that. We have more than 50 new partnerships this year. We have success mentors that we started. We have lunch buddies. We have our MOCA mentoring program that's occurring. We have a portfolio mentoring model that we created. It is one of a kind in the country from my understanding. We have Johns Hopkins University that will be following and conducting the research on this over a 3-year period because they want to see if this is something that can be replicated. We've already taken this model and we presented at some national conferences, and we will continue to present on this model that we have that allows for us to reach so many different kids in so many different areas. And so we think that that's very important. Reputation and public relations. One of the things I heard over and over and over is that there's a very negative perception of the school district. People just don't think highly of the school district. And I heard that before I even had my first interview. Somebody told me they wouldn't put their dog in the school district. I have my 3 kids in the school district and they're private. So I know this is a good school district for kids, but we have to do our part to make sure that we hold our kids accountable and we hold our educators accountable. So what we said we would do is we created positive, productive relationships with KCUR, the Kansas City Star, 41 Action News, just to name a few. The Plug, we created a new KCPS blog that's up and running. You can go and look and listen to some of the things we're doing there on the website. Weekly KCPS news update, improved websites, increased use of social media, increased marketing using digital and traditional media, and word of mouth, cooperation with Show Me Schools. We feel like we've done a really good job in this area. We really have. And we know that what we're doing is working. I tell people probably one of the biggest things that you can do as a superintendent is make sure that the school district is moving academically and that you're performing. But the other thing you have to do as a great leader is build great leaders. We've had 2 people 2 years in a row leave this school district to take on their own superintendencies. And there was a time when people would not come and look at this school district for candidates to move on and lead other school districts. So we know nationally that we're getting a lot of attention with the work that we're doing right now. And I couldn't be any prouder because this kind of stuff only happens when you have people that really are working hard to make the dream come alive for our kids. So this is the slide that I really love the most, just because these are some things that we have actually put in place. People talk about the fact that we need to have more options. I too agree. Why do we have to have a brick and mortar model? It worked for us. It's not necessarily relevant for our kids right now, but we still put them in this chalkboard age era form of teaching and learning, and they graduate into a world that doesn't interface like that anymore. So we have to be different and innovative in how we respond to what the demands are that these kids are going to walk into when they graduate. So I want to share a couple of things with you. We're opening up Lincoln Middle School in 2019, 2020. We have a lot of demand for that school. We have a waiting list. In fact, we have over 300 applicants right now that have applied to that school with 150 kids graduating. So there's a lot of interest in that model that we think would allow for us to continue to build the school system. We have our early college academy. So we sat down with the chancellor over the whole system. And the chancellor happens to be from Houston. She was a part of the Houston Community College system as an executive. So we sat down with her one day in the conference room and said, hey, we're paying 100% of the cost for our kids to take advantage of this early college academy. That's not how it works where we came from. You know, there was a discount. In fact, it was a 50% discount. About 2 weeks ago, she sent a text message to me as a result of our conversation and said that her board of trustees voted to reduce the cost. So we were able to get them to knock the cost off by 50%. Now we can actually double that number from 100 to 200 kids that can take place of this, and it won't cost us an additional penny. So we have to then work on figuring out how we grow those numbers, because we want to make sure that we're growing it in a way where we can manage it. So is it 50 this year, then 50 in the following year? The chancellor is not interested in that. She wants all 100 of them to start next year. So we're going to figure out a way. She works with a sense of urgency that I simply appreciate, because I think that's how we need to be working. So we're very proud of being able to expand this opportunity. Athletic activities and facilities. You guys see the fields. We have new fields popping up all over the city. And because of that, there's a different sense of pride. I went to a basketball game, my first basketball game I went to last year. And I watched the kids play, and they were in 3 different colored shorts. They didn't fit. You got one kid dribbling the ball with one hand, holding up his pants. He turns the ball over because he's trying to pull up his pants. He gets pulled out the game. And I'm watching this as a superintendent. And I'm sitting here saying, this is the first line of recruitment, especially for these middle schoolers, when they're playing kids that don't go to our school system, and they want to have a chance to get into our, you know, and they see this. And they're like, man, if this out of district operates, I don't want my kid to be a part of that. So we invested. We bought brand new uniforms for every single kid in this district. Brand new uniforms. They look like $1 million, and they're starting to play like $1 million. So we have work now. The next level is to work on our coaches. That's the next level. We got our fields. We got kids interested. And our coaches, all this collecting the stipend, all that from the end, you got the coach. So I'm big on this stuff. We started a middle college program. We just did our press conference on this last Thursday. There was actually a clip. I wish I could have inserted it here. But there is a clip. But at the end of the day, what we said was we worked with the Full Employment Council. We got a grant, $80,000 grant. They wanted us to educate 30 kids. These are kids who have, in essence, dropped out of school. What happens, because I consider myself a dropout expert. That's kind of what my dissertation was on. And what we often do when we retrieve dropouts, we knock on doors, we get them back into school, and we put them right back into the same environment that caused them to drop out in the first place. Now, what everybody needs to understand is when a kid drops out, they become disengaged for whatever reason. They're not successful. They may not interface with the environment. They may not like the teachers. They may not like the kids that are there. But what we know is once they drop out, they're doing things like you and I are doing. The only difference is they don't have a high school diploma. But they out here working, or they out here doing adult-related things. So what we said was, let's create this middle college program for kids that are the ages of 17 to 24. Let's get them back in. They have 2 tracks that they can take. The kids who are younger than 21 can earn a high school diploma if they complete everything according to the Missouri state standards. And then anybody over 21 can get their GED. And what we said was, let's do it on a college campus. So we reached out to the Penn Valley president and said, we want to do this program on your campus. We want to give the kids ID badges. They have the ID badges of a Penn Valley student. So they have all the rights and privileges of a Penn Valley student. We worked with KCPS-TV to get them transportation passes. Everything is paid for. All they have to do is show up. And what we said was that this eliminated the embarrassment factor. Now, because they're on college, a lot of people have anxiety about going to college because they have not had family members who've ever gone. If these kids complete, and when they complete, they have a track now. They can move on and start working on their associates, or they can go right into a workforce development program where they can get 2 more years of training and then be ready to go right into industry. So we think that this is a model that can be very successful, but this is something that we put in place, and we're going to work on it with 25 to 30 kids in year 1. And if this works out like we believe it will, then we can seek more money to see if we can grow it out. But we're extremely excited about this initiative. And in our career technology education program, we talked to you all earlier about wanting every kid to have a completer. Every kid should be in some type of trade. So we're working at it. We're going to start building it from the elementary level, middle school level, growing it into our high schools. That's going to be a process because this is a very, very expensive initiative. But we also have a lot of funders who are here and a lot of partners that I think are willing to talk with us and partner with us to make this happen. And one of the funders understands that it's a 7 to 10 year ordeal that we would have to go through, but they're willing to have those conversations about us figuring out how we can make sure that all of our kids get an opportunity to graduate with a complete. So that in essence completes my component, and I'm on time actually. I want to open up the floor for some questions at this time. Anybody that has some questions, I will do everything in my power to give you an answer. And if I don't know the answer, I have my cabinet members here. Somebody has an answer. Okay, so there's a microphone right over here.
Hello. I have kids that go to the high school. I did have a graduate that left here last year in the middle school. But you was talking about the field. I love the field. Are they going to do the gym and stuff too, so they don't always have to go to other schools to play the sports?
So eventually, but what needs to happen, and I'll go ahead, I've been planting this seed, so you did a wonderful job asking that question because you took me somewhere that I completely forgot to talk about. So we know that since 1966, we have not had a bond referendum, a general operation bond here to do capital projects. We have a fleet of schools that probably are in the rating of 60 to 69%, and we need a lot of work done. Our budget right now cannot support us having the ability to do massive renovations unless we take this to the voters. And this is something that we're working on trying to figure out what would be a good time to begin a campaign to talk about a bond referendum so we can get some needed work done. The thing is not just Kansas City Public Schools. We got charter partners out here who buildings are falling apart too, so they actually stand to benefit off of this too. And for us as a district, we simply care about the ecosystem. We care about the educational ecosystem working for children. And so this is something that we are going to be pursuing in the very near future as we begin to talk about what a bond referendum look like. The other thing that we know too is that we have not passed a levy. And a levy increase, the last time that was done was 1969. Levy increases allow for you then to do some of your operational work. A bond, to execute a bond means that a general obligation bond is for capital work, to fix facilities, and then a levy allows for you to do operational things that you need to do from, spend your money on instructional programs and those kind of things. So these are things that we're looking at. Yes, you want to come up so we can hear you?
Swali langu ni hili. Mbele ya swali kwanza tunashukuru kwa meeting hii. Kwa sababu hii ni ya muhimu sana sisi wazazi. Na hii ni opportunity tunapata hata ya kuuliza maswali. Hii yote sisi wote tuna mzigo kubwa, tunataka watoto wetu wafanye vizuri na tena wafanye kwa level hata ya nchi yetu waonekane kama watoto wamefanya vizuri.
I believe that as a parent, everyone wants the kids to success, to be a good level of education.
Hiyo ni kweli, na sisi tunataka tujaribu ile ambayo tunaweza tuifanye ili watoto wetu
We just want to involve as we can so for our kids to success.
Lakini kitu tutaomba cha kwanza, sijafanya swali,
My request before my question
ni kusema masomo na wazazi tufanye kabisa ile uhusiano, connection ya zaidi.
I think we need more involvement and connection between parents and schools.
Hiyo na sitaamsha wazazi kusudi tuwe kabisa interested kusema tuone
I believe it's going to make our kids involved more and do balance.
Okay, swali ninayo ni hili, ni moja tu.
My question is,
Ni swali kuhusu watoto kutokwenda kwa shule kwa ajili ya appointment ya hospitali.
sometimes we have a hospital appointments.
Unajua kwamba sisi ambao tumetoka nje ya nchi hii
As people who come from different
tunakuwa na appointment mingi sana, mtu kama ngali mgeni.
we have so many appointments once we are new in the country.
Hiyo watoto sasa tunakuwa na vita na watoto.
And then we have kind of fighting with the kids.
Kuna mara ukimwambia eti kuna appointment ambayo tunastahili kwenda kwa hospitali,
If you tell them like, today you're not going to be in school because of how
mtoto anakuambia ndio kwenda kwa appointment ni mzuri, lakini sasa kule wataniandikia kama si kwenda kwa shule.
they say, I'm going to go to the appointment by the school. They are going to count me as absent.
Rekodi zangu zitakuwa chini.
And then by the 99% that will
Hata nikienda na excuse.
and then even if I have the letter from the doctors,
Sasa swali langu ni hili,
my question is,
inawezekana mtoto akienda kwa hospitali na yuko na excuse proof ya kama alienda hospitali kwa appointment, hiyo kitu inaweza kucancel hiyo absent, inaweza kucancel hata akiwa na test wanaweza kumfanyisha. Ni swali langu. Asante sana.
say, for example, the day of the appointment, they may have a quiz, they may have exams going on. And if the kids are coming with the excuse or with the letter from the doctor saying that he was attending hospital the day of the quiz, if that cancel that's gonna cancel their late for the day. If they are late for the day, so it's going to take it out on their report or it's going to stay.
Okay, mimi ni mzazi, niko na mtoto ku East High School.
Because I have my son in East High School.
Niko na watoto 4 ku Gulf Elementary. Na majina yangu yanaitwa Pastor Muhizi Serukizi.
His name is
Asante sana, Mungu awabariki.
Hey, that is a great question, and let me provide a response for you. That response is simple. It's a state-imposed regulation. There's nothing we can do about it. Hey, if they miss that time, even with an excuse, I think the excuse, it gives you the documentation as an excused absence. Before, from a 90-90 standpoint, you missed that part of the day. I don't, am I right, Mike? Yeah, there is nothing we can do. That's not a KCPS rule, that's a state rule. And what we have to do is advocate to figure out how we can look at this formula for it to be more fair, especially when a kid is out being sick, or because right now we taking a massive hit on our 90-90 because of the flu. And right now there's no way on earth we're making our goals this year based on that. Come up, Mike. So
this one.
Once again, hello. The ELL community and the immigrant community in our city is something that is very unique to Kansas City in the state of Missouri, even compared to St. Louis. We generally have twice the LEP ELL population that the second highest school district in the state has. We have been voicing these concerns to the technical advisory committee of the state for multiple years at this point in time. We are finally feeling like that they're hearing our voice because the rest of the state of Missouri is starting to feel some of the impact of immigration and the LEP factor that Kansas City has been feeling for a long time. So this is a fight that we continually make with the state, and we will continue to advocate for all of our students in the state of Missouri to be held to a fair and accountable standard.
outstanding. Thank you.
So I thank God.
Mungu awabariki sana mkuu
God bless you.
wetu wa shule na timu yote ambayo mnayoshirikiana. Mungu awabariki sana.
So God bless all the team that work together to put our kids in.
Na swali moja au na ulizo moja na pongezi ambapo mkuu wetu aliongea mambo mengi lakini na mambo mawili.
I have one question. I know you talk about other stuff, but I have like two things that I want to talk about.
Mimi ni mzazi wa mwanafunzi ambaye amesomea hapa Mwajuma bila mbele.
I'm the parents of one, and then she said she's a student here in this school.
Yeah. Mimi mwalimu mkuu wa shule aliongea kwamba kulingana watoto wanashuka sana viwango.
He talked about like the law, the more kids that we have in the level.
Kulingana na lugha.
Because of, I think that is because of language barrier.
Kwa kweli hilo ni kweli kwa sababu kama mimi naongea lugha ya Kifaransa.
I may say it's true because like me, I speak French.
Kiingereza ni ndogo sana.
My English is just.
Lakini kulingana na hilo jinsi mlivyogundua ni sababisho ya watoto kushuka sana viwango.
But I believe when you just said it's true because we believe that they are in low level because of same issue that you said.
Ukaongea kwamba tunapigania watoto watu waache ubaguzi.
But you said something that we are going to say like the kids has to be in the same level, not discrimination.
Hiyo ni kwetu kubwa sana kwa sababu
And also we think it's an issue because
hiyo kama mtoto hajajua lugha vizuri
if the kids is not able to speak as well,
na yule ambaye anayejua
and then you are staying with someone who is able to speak their own language,
umdhalilishe yule ambaye hajui lugha.
so our kids feel like shameful, hopeless. They're not able to feel like they can do anything.
Na kumuona hafai.
They feel like they don't deserve to be with other kids who speaks.
Na hilo inasababisha hata kutumika ndani ya shule anaogopa nitaongea nini.
And I believe because also impact the kids that will be able to do what they're supposed to do, and they're not able to work on their capacity.
Na furaha yangu kubwa kwa sababu nyinyi viongozi mligundua neno hilo.
And I think, I don't know if you knew that the issue, but I think you need to understand that maybe the issue also.
Muendelee kupigania na watoto wao wamoja, yule ambaye anajua lugha na sio lugha wao mahali pamoja ili akuze yule mwingine ambaye anajua lugha.
And I believe that's something we need to work on it for the kids who speak English and the kids who don't speak English, that they're not supposed to be in English. The kids have to be trained.
Na Mungu awabariki sana.
Thank you. So let me answer that question for you. We are very aware. One of the things that from a federal level that we're held accountable for is after kids have come into our school district from another country, they have 1 year. They give them a pass for 1 year. Whether they have acquired the target language or not, they have to take the reading assessment. And it does, to your point, when you look at that data, that definitely impacts us at a much heavier rate. So we are definitely familiar with that, and that is something that we've been talking to the commissioner that was here at the time, but we're also having that conversation with the state right now. On another note, we do agree, and one of the things that we talk about is we asked our board to adopt 2 resolutions around making sure that there's no bullying, that we're an anti-bullying school district. I worked in the Houston Independent School District where 65% of the school district are students that are Hispanic, but we have hundreds of languages there. And so I truly understand what happens when a kid moves from their country to a new world, a new environment, the trauma that they deal with, some of the social distress that they deal with, and then trying to come in and make friends and then being picked on because they don't speak a certain language. That's something that we just simply will not support in this school district. And if those things are happening, then we need to make sure that as an administrative team, we are addressing that. But it does happen. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it don't. but we have to make sure that we're being vigilant on not allowing that to be prevalent in this school district. Okay, so right. No, you're fine. I think at this point, language services. Okay.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Gente que habla español. Good afternoon. My question is, who did the translation for this?
Who did the translation?
For Spanish, is very good.
Who did the translation? Where? Is she here?
Oh. Okay. Muy bien, good.
Muy bien.
I just want to ask or suggest,
Okay.
sugerencia, for the enrollment that is in Spanish on the webpage.
Okay.
That is not right. That is complete no sense. No tiene sentido en español en nada. Son palabras en español, pero no están conectadas. I think they use Google Translator, so I use it. Some people can say, well, you speak English, why are you doing English? But it's not my first language, so 7 years ago I just focused to speak English, and I sort of learned how to read. So I have trouble with that, so I usually go to the Spanish version.
Okay.
So I was having trouble to do that. And I don't know if other language people and that's the same. But I will ask if you can make that change. We can help you with that. Maybe that'd be easier for parents who works full time, full day, and ask for a day off just to ask for help to the language services to help us with the enrollment place, with the enrollment. So it's gonna be a wasting of sources, I think, for you guys if we have that.
All right.
We can do it from home.
Okay, that's fair. We'll talk to our enrollment team. I mean, this is our first year putting up the online enrollment. So I always tell people too, we're kind of crawling as we evolve as a school district, but we absolutely want to make sure that we're being fully inclusive and building it as we continue to evolve. So I will definitely have a conversation with our team and see what we can do. And if you're telling me you can help, so we may have to have further conversation. Because I will take you up on that. Don't stand up in here and say that, and then when I call you, you don't show up. Okay. So I did want to say thank you all. That concludes my part of the presentation, and we will move forward with our language services department. So, I'll pass it over to you.
We really appreciate it. Well, we'll pull up something in a moment here. So I'm Jamie Evans Arriola. I'm the community coordinator for the Language Services Department. And I want to first say thank you very much to our interpreters who have been working their tails off back there to translate. So Dr. Bedell showed us the strategic plan for the district, and so tonight what I really want to focus on is how we are actively implementing Pillar B of our strategic plan, and focusing it on the refugees, immigrants, migrants, and other English learners in the district. Based on the feedback from parents earlier this year at our parent meetings, we have implemented 2 different programs. I'm going to pull up something on there if we can. Thank you. So, like I said, we just want to focus on Pillar B tonight and really highlight some of the organizations that partner with us and are really creating some interesting and new programs to support the English learners in the district. So, parents, in the first semester in our parent meeting, you all asked for an English class, an ESL class, here at the school. And so we have partnered with the Kansas City Public Library and Plaza Comunitaria to be able to do that. So we have a class here every Wednesday. We just got started in February, or I guess last week of January to get started, and have already had 10 different participants taking part. So we really appreciate the partnership with the library and are looking forward to that program growing. In addition to Plaza Comunitaria's English class that they have at James that happens on Thursday evenings, specifically for Spanish speakers. The other thing that we are currently implementing, so we had a group last semester for Padres Comprometidos, or committed parents. So it is a curriculum developed by La Raza for Latino parents to engage in the school. We are going to provide that group again. We are currently seeking feedback from parents about when they would be available, whether during the day or after school hours. We are also going to be having this class in Somali at Northeast High School. So now, really tonight, I'd like to highlight some of our partnerships. So the first one is Global FC. They actually won, first runner-up, correct, Maria? First runner-up for the Religious Freedom Film Competition, so we're going to show their short film right now.
My name is Mahmoud, and I'm from Somalia, and I play for rugby.
My name is David, I'm from Uganda, I play goalie.
Hello, my name is Maurice, and I'm from Somalia, and I play forward.
Hi, my name is Happy, and I'm from Congo, I play attacking midfield.
Hello, my name is Mo, I'm from Burma, and I play center back.
I'm Maria Goodfried, founder and director of Global FC. Began this organization in 2013 here in Kansas City with the hope and the vision to provide soccer opportunity for refugee youth coming to America, specifically here in the Kansas City area in the Northeast. It is important to understand the fundamental needs that the refugee community has. I think what gets me really excited is to discover some of the great talents and qualities and resilience. I think one of the things that we can also do in the process is discover their powerful stories as well. And I think all of that collectively is so good when we can bring in support systems alongside that. And I think that that type of new narrative is so important. We can do more together. From an economic perspective, this is good for business. How? By cultivating an environment and a society in which increased tolerance, appreciation for diversity, and promoting religious freedom, therefore providing a space for individuals to thrive and pursue their greatest potential. And what's our role as an organization? To relay this message, to live out this message. Masters Transportation and Global FC have joined arms to make this a reality.
I'm John Goodbreak, President and CEO of Masters Transportation. We're a bus provider for military, army, college, university, municipal, and government. In business, you always have to grow. In business, you always have to think of the new ideas, take care of customers better, develop strategies for growth and people. And as a community, it gets exciting on what Kansas City can do, what it can be, how it can take refugee families and communities and onboard them even better. A small bus company in Kansas City, in the south part of town, gets to have a small impact. It all starts with that word, community. You have to get yourself in proximity, you got to build a relationship, and then you start to see opportunity. Once you get that relationship, you start to see their potential and how much they bring to what we do.
We are, even though it's a soccer program that's connecting and building bridges with refugee communities at a local level, at a small scale, we are at a local level peace builders.
So now I'd like to welcome Maria, who's going to talk about Global FC and about our new partnership providing tutoring here as well.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, so at the end of the month, I'll be going to South Korea to present that at the Parliament and to the Prime Minister, actually, as one of our efforts in small ways to show how a smaller program here in Kansas City can still have an international recognition. Why is that important? Because what we do at a local level matters. What we do here has global implications, and they do want to hear from us. Many times there's a breakdown of communication from a policy level at a higher level that way to what we're doing here. So I'm excited to not only share about what Global FC is doing, what we as a community are doing. I'm excited to share about the Kansas City School Board. I'm excited to talk about JPS and all our amazing partners. We have been hearing that word community a lot, and lots of times we've been using that word a lot. I really want to emphasize that why. That whole concept of it takes a village to raise a child, we truly believe that and we truly live by that. So Global FC exists to bridge diverse cultures, to come together forming just communities where all are free to be fully known and fully loved in pursuit of their God-given purpose and potential. When I moved here 5 years ago with my own resettlement journey, my family being refugees from Afghanistan, I knew some of the shortcomings that I experienced in the education system, in my social growth, in my integration, and a lot of the conflict that I experienced at home as well. But when I came here, I didn't want to just create another program. We've got enough programs. What I wanted to do was pick up what was right in front of me, which was the tool of soccer. So we use soccer as a vehicle for transformative action, for impact, and through that it's a conduit. We never see a child apart from the household. We are in pursuit of that household. So every child that we see, what we've realized that traditionally in this country, the programs have had this notion of if it goes to the heads of the families, the benefits will trickle down to the rest of the family. That's not a reality. We know that especially with refugee kids, we must implement programs that engage the entire household. And so for us, soccer became that conduit that got into the homes. And now that we have been able to do that, mentoring is weaved into everything that we do. Now with our education partnership with the Kansas City School Board, we get to come alongside the youth through education as well. And so also the mentoring component and the family initiatives. One of the things that I've just picked up on today, as people were talking about attendance rates, for us, going into all our kids' Tyler portals and education portals, our kids know you don't show up to class, you don't show up to practice. You don't show up to class, you don't get to play your game. I mean, I had a kid not show up to my tutoring today. He knows he cannot come to practice, his first practice. He was in tears, but there's a high level of accountability that we put into everything that we are doing in that. The family engagement component, where we get really excited with the Kansas City School Board, is just this week, even with teacher-parent conferences, we know that all the kids that are in our tutoring program, their tutors will pick up the parents and bring them here to our teacher conference meetings, which means we envision a future as well as our partnership grows, is that our Global FC shuttle buses are literally picking up every single parent and bringing them here. We understand that that engagement is so powerful and it's so important, and we're not replacing the parent, we're coming alongside the parent. And so we really believe this holistic approach of literally building a community around that kid is so important by providing them the tools of resources, opportunities, and most importantly for us is the relationships. And what we also want to do as we further our relationship and partnership with the schools is how do we measure these outcomes? So we'd love to come alongside the teachers and the school board and say, how can we measure these outcomes through attendance and grade levels? I mean, I can give you a lot of words. I think it's also important to give you clear examples. One boy, lucky boy, didn't show up to tutoring this week. This tutor text messaged me, then I text messaged the director of tutoring, then an entire text messaging or through email, the coach, the team manager, the team mentor, almost 8 people in 1 second already knew he was not there. It's like that army around that kid is automatically notified and that kid is held to a high level of accountability. Currently, right now, we're going to be hitting almost 30 to 35 active social media chat rooms where almost every single kid of ours who's in the Kansas City School, they're in that room and they're held accountable. They're constantly talking to their mentors, their team managers, their coaches, and we foresee that in this year, we can see 50 to 60 active social media chat rooms with the kids and that community going on a daily basis. So these are a lot of the exciting things that we're doing. We believe in the power and the energy of collaborative partners coming together, and we're just sort of a piece of that. In any way Global FC can serve and come alongside you, in which we can kind of help you advance your mission. I mean, for us, our initial partnership was with JBS, and we asked them to give us 12 kids, and they did. And out of those 12 kids, this year, as we go forward, we're hoping to hit about 300 and 350 kids this year. And we understood that that secondary support system for the youth is so critical, and we're here for the long haul. Our tutor who's tutoring Muhammad at grade 4 is going to be with him in grade 5 and grade 6. And we tell those who come into our Global FC community the unique challenges that they're going to face. At the same time, if we tell them, if you're just here to get some hours and leave, this is not the gig for you. We're here for the long haul for them, and we've seen an incredible and passionate group of volunteers come alongside us. I mean, we had a workshop, and we've had over 70 UMKC students show up. We have got a high level of active tutors and partners. We're hitting the Rockhurst now. We're hitting all the colleges across the city. The reality is that if we only keep our head down into the Northeast and focusing on the refugee community and the kids, but don't pick up our heads and give opportunities and bridges for people in the larger Kansas City community to come and participate, it's not a matter that they don't want to, they just don't know how. We have to give them the tools as well as the bridge to do that. So now we get this exciting thing that at the Global FC table, we have incredible diverse partners. The soccer community is involved, the resettlement is involved, the school is involved. They go all the way up to Olathe. And what we're doing is we're attracting them all the way over there to come into our community, because emerging communities for us is a key incentive as well. So we've got a lot going on, and we're super excited, but most importantly, our involvement with the Kansas City School Board has been so precious, very strategic, and one of the things we look forward to as we keep going is to share some of these critical outcomes with you.
So, Alejandro, if you want to come on up and you can log into your Prezi very quickly. No? Okay. Okay. Alejandro, Cabrera is the recruiter for the Migrant Education Project through DESE. So we serve a number of migrants in our community, and he's going to talk a little bit about what that means, and hopefully for parents as well, so that we can help to recruit.
Thank you. First of all, chapeau Global FC, what they are doing. Ms. Harrison know we tried in 2007, 2008, the after-school program. We go out 40% of the MAP scores just by providing or connecting soccer with education, with Mr. Bahadur, Mr. Bui, and it's something the kids need, not just because they need to do a physical activity, not just because they consider soccer as a main sport. It's because soccer in our culture, Africa, Asia, South America, is part of the culture. So it's something they already know and help them in connecting with the new culture. So it's very important. Soccer is not just as a sport, but also as a connector, as a culturation tool. This is very important. So thanks for what you're doing. I would love to talk to you because I'm also working with the ESPN here in Kansas City. Maybe we can do something on the side. Second thing is, I apologize, I'm a little late. I'm supposed to be here at 6. I'm from Argentina. My mom is from Argentina. And she calls me, like most of our families are here, telling me that she has some illness and I can do nothing to her. So I'm pretty sure that you know what is the feeling. And sometimes the school needs to understand that there's some stuff we are dealing every day affecting our job, affecting our kids' education, and sometimes we can explain it because there's some stressors that most of the people don't know. So how are you going to do, or how are you going to focus myself on do a presentation where my mom called me on tires that she don't know how to deal with it, and was something that all our families are facing every day. So that's something that I need to bring here for the school district to understand. There is some stressor out of the education that affecting those kids sometimes, and we don't know. Some stressor that they're here, and sometimes works like Lindsay or the social workers sometimes are even more important than teaching some math or science in some moments. So with that said, again, my name is Alejandro. I'm gonna try to be short and sweet like myself. Because of the time, and I'm working with the Migrant Education Program. The Migrant doesn't mean they work with the immigrants. It means that we work with families that are migrating from one school district to another, do the kind of jobs the family is doing. That's why in the near future they will call Migrant Farm Workers Education Program. This program is a federal entitled program. It's under the Title I, Part C of the Education Law, ECEA, and is providing additional educational services to students from families that are working or has been working in the past 3 years with any kind of agricultural jobs, meaning working on the crops, picking crops, harvesting. It could be on the meat processing plants. We have a lot of families over here that living here, but working, for instance, at Tran Food in St. Louis, Missouri, and coming back every day. I'm talking about 3 hours trip every day, and sometimes plus the 8 or 9 hours that I'm working. So we're talking about families that are out of the city for more than 12 hours, and sometimes the students need some kind of after-school activities. They need some kind of extra help. And this program is intended to support those kids. The main rationale of this program is not just provide basic education. The school district, we call the project, are doing an excellent work on that, but also to bring some additional programs to bridge the gap on education for those kids. Unfortunately, those migrant farm worker kids are one of the biggest or the highest dropout rates in the United States. So our program is a national, it's a federal program. We have migrant education on most every city in the United States, and if we individualize one of the families here and they have to move to for instance, the meat plants in Iowa, or the oranges in Florida, or the potatoes in North Carolina, they're going to be a migrant program waiting for them and continue the services. So to us, it's very important to individualize and recruit those families as soon as possible, because if not, we're going to lose the opportunity to help those families. So for all the other reasons, or if you need to contact me, just contact Jamie and we will be in touch. What I'm needing for you is, if you know any family or brand new family that just apply for those kind of jobs, nurseries, something related with vegetables, pick-up vegetables, meat processing plants, just pass the information to the school district and to Jamie and Lindsay, and we want to individualize and recruit those children and provide services as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Now I'm going to introduce Rita and Becca from the RISE program at the Kansas City Library.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for having us today. We're going to try to go quickly through this. We want to make sure you all can get home as soon as possible. So I'm Becca and this is Rita, and we both work for the Refugee and Immigrant Services and Empowerment, or RISE program at the Kansas City Public Library. So the Kansas City Public Library, we're on the Missouri side. We have a service area of about 250,000 people, and then we also can service anyone in the Kansas City metro area. So it can be anyone who lives in this area, and this is included. Why the Kansas City Public Library cares about refugees and immigrants? Because you're here, you're part of our community, and we serve to be a doorway to knowledge for all. So here we have our mission and vision. So our mission is to connect immigrant populations with the quality services, resources, and lifelong learning opportunities of the library through outreach, education, and advocacy. And we do this mainly with two programs. We have a citizenship program and an English program. So our English program, we have an English for Citizenship class that helps prepare people for the English needed for the citizenship interview. This is taking place currently at the Central Branch downtown, and it's every Wednesday from 6 to 8. We also have citizenship interview practice where we have volunteers who pretend to be USCIS officers and will help go through that process with people applying for citizenship so they're more comfortable when it comes time for their interview. As Jamie already said, we have a class here at Northeast Middle School on Wednesdays from 3:30 to 5. If you would like more information about our other classes, you can stop by. We have a table in the back. And then we are also starting a program in March called English in Action, which is one-on-one mentorship for English practice. So you would meet for 2 hours a week at any library location, and you would practice your English. So this is more of an immersion program for people who are a little bit higher level English speakers. We have a couple of events coming up. We have a film series on the second Mondays of every month. The next one is in March, and it's on Cesar Chavez. It's a film about Cesar Chavez. And then in April, at Art Starts at the Library on April 6th, we will be displaying photos, some taken by parents here at Northeast Middle School. So documenting the refugee experience from their own perspective. We also hold naturalization ceremonies occasionally at the library. We've held 3 so far. It's been a really fruitful experience and a really fruitful partnership. If you need to contact us, the best place to go is kclibrary.org/rise. All of our information is there. Rita and I will be at a table back there. We also have books if you want to take any books home to your family. That's our time.
That was amazingly quick and snappy. I loved it. One of the partners that we work with, especially with our newly arrived refugees, we have a very close working relationship. So as soon as somebody comes into the country to be resettled, we're working very closely with JBS Resettlement. Well, when there are refugees being resettled, we are working with JBS. And then we also work with Sarah, who's going to talk about the social work services at JBS.
Hi, thank you. I'm the social work manager, but JBS as a whole, as she said, we do refugee resettlement, and so that's with individuals for the first 90 days. We also have a language services program that provides interpreters, and we have an immigration department, and then I manage the social work department, which provides intensive social work services to entire families. So some of those referrals will come from the schools, they can come from hospitals, they can come from individuals who are newly resettled, or maybe somebody's been here for 20 years and now they're needing some extra support with a really complex medical issue that they have or a mental health issue. So we have social workers, all master's level social workers that assist with that. And then we also have a gardening program called Global Gardens, and we have a refugee family strengthening program that is held typically on the weekends, and they work with different communities on communication skills. And then we have an adult therapy program that is open to anyone that we serve in social work, which actually I didn't say this, in social work we're able to serve refugees, immigrants, and asylees. So we kind of have an expanded list beyond just the new arrivals that we're able to serve. And then more recently we have started a youth therapy program. And that's really where our partnership, that and our social work, intensive social work program, is where we partner with the school district the most. And that is assisting kids with IEPs if those are needed, helping advocate for those kids and helping their parents learn how to be involved in the school and how to outreach to the school and what's a parent-teacher conference, what do I need to know about that, what's my child expected to do at school, and then we're now providing therapy at school. And we just got a new grant we're really excited about, and we'll be able to kind of expand that program to provide more therapy for refugee and immigrant and asylee youth on school property during the day, which is pretty exciting. So, and we do a lot of visits, but that's kind of our overview of JBS. Thank you.
All right, last thing tonight, for the parents that are here, thank you for coming. And a reminder that parent-teacher conferences are Thursday. Those that support parents and families, parent-teacher conferences are Thursday. I am gonna,
So, for our parents that English might be your second language or your third or your fourth, you have a sheet of paper from your interpreter. So interpreters, get your sheet of paper. These are some questions that you can ask your students' teachers at parent-teacher conferences. Okay? So they're in English and Swahili or Burmese or Korean or Spanish. So you should bring this sheet of paper with you to parent-teacher conferences so you can use it to ask some questions. You will have interpreters there also, but we want you to have some ideas of what you might want to know about your students. And I also, the last time we met, I just thought about this earlier, you had homework the last time we were together. Do you remember your homework? So your homework was to know at least 2 of your students' teachers by the time parent-teacher conferences came around. So I want to give you 1 minute to talk at your table, look at your interpreter, and tell them the name of 2 of your students' teachers. That was your homework. I can't forget that I gave you homework. Okay, go ahead. Tell your interpreter 2 of your teachers, your students' teachers' names. Okay. Raise your hand if you remember 2 of your teachers' names, your students' teachers' names. Did you? Good job. Okay. Yes? Kadoma? Okay, that is your homework for Thursday. So when you go to school on Thursday, you need to meet 2 of the teachers and remember their names. Because you can see, I will come back to you and make sure you remember. Okay? Alright, so everyone has their sheet of paper for parent-teacher conferences. You can practice what questions you want to ask. Okay? And then then the other reminder was the math test, right? Okay, so our last piece of information for the evening. Next week, your students will be taking a practice test. And that practice test is going to prepare them for the big test at the end of the year. So it's really important next week and the week after that your students go to sleep on time, get extra rest, eat breakfast, and get to school on time. So they will be taking a test in reading and math, and some of it will be interpreted. So some of your students will be hearing the test in French or Swahili or Kinyarwanda or Spanish. Okay? So we can test what they understand and know and not test their language skills. But your students have to be at school. Okay, so it's really important to be at school next week, and the week after it's always important to be at school. But next week is the practice test, so they can get prepared and be ready for when the big test comes in April. And that's really all we have tonight. You guys have been a really wonderful and patient audience. Thank you so much to our community partners that came. We're so lucky to have you, and we would not be able to do the things that we do in KCPS without you. So thank you so much. Partners and friends, we appreciate you.